I think it's a pretty good deal. I've talked to some other local contractors and told them what our option of getting for the money, and they were quite impressed with the price. I mean,
any idea how much overtime if we stayed with what we have right now? Have you got any kind of a guesstimate as to what the overtime? I suppose it depends on the storm, when it comes and how much we get.
But I can already tell with this one storm, I'm guessing we got 14 to 15 inches here at the complex, that there's going to be, because of how the parking lots are set up, there's going to be significant, whether we have 2 trucks or not, there's going to be more overtime because of snow. Once I remove the snow, the snow banks, the positions they're in, are not capable of holding the next storm that comes in. So a big portion of everything around that building is going to have to be bucketed back after every storm.
Yeah. But that could be bucketed back during the day where there would not be any overtime.
Some and some not. That parking lot, if you look over there on a weekday like right now, there's not very many empty parking spots up front, and there's a lot of snow up front. So you know, it's hard when you're in that long backhoe to be backing, you know, moving around snow with cars all around you, people coming and going. Sometimes I find it's easier for me to come in the evening, say after 5, 6 o'clock. I'll come in and run the loader. I have less cars, and I can have them move the few that are there for second shift, and I don't have as much foot traffic coming in and out throughout the daytime that I have to look for bystanders when I'm trying to bucket back. So there's going to be an increase whether we have a second truck or not. But the second truck is going to dramatically help with the amount of plowing because we can't keep up with what there is during the storm and the sanding issue. I mean, that, to me, the sanding issue gets underestimated how much. There are many times we get a rain, we get different things, we get a storm. Okay, we got the storm on Saturday night. I was in here Sunday morning, Monday morning, and yesterday morning I came in early and checked on it. And 2 of the 3 mornings I had to come in and sand because there's black ice as it melts. It runs down our, you know, and to have someone come in that often to sand, it only takes me an hour, hour and a half. But to hire someone to come in and do that, we'd be looking at a lot of money.
That's the interest rate.
Okay. Okay, so go ahead.
Is there such a thing as government surplus vehicles? I remember when I was a kid, the Durham Police Department got this old GMC Jimmy, and I asked them where they got it, and they said they got it for like $5 from government surplus.
The problem with government surplus is most of the vehicles that the state turns in goes down to Pennsylvania. I don't know why that happens, but it used to go to the White Garage in Concord.
White's Farm.
The White Farm. But when I inquired down there 2 or 3 years ago, they said, oh, all our trucks now go to Pennsylvania and they're all auctioned off down there for some reason. Once you do get a second-hand truck, you don't know what's going to happen, whether they've used it for plowing in the past. And plow trucks take a beating no matter, you know, how you look at it.
But if you could get a truck for $10, it wouldn't really matter.
Well, if you start putting in a lot of maintenance on a transmission and other things, and then you got rust and stuff to deal with. We got a second-hand one out there now. And
it's the one that I'm replacing came from White's Farm.
Yeah.
You know, it's gotten a few years out of it, but when I worked for the state, we used to go down the state to the White's Farm and look at vehicles. And you get state agencies, when they get rid of their vehicles, that's where they send them. And our state's pretty, you know, they keep their stuff a long time. So when they get rid of it, it's not very good shape. You don't know what the problems are, and if you don't know what the problems are, you don't have dependability. You know, when the snow starts coming down, I don't want to go out there and we have nothing. You know, we need dependability when people that are walking in and out of this facility, ambulance, I had an ambulance come in Sunday morning while I was here plowing. You know, we need to have that dependability, to have that open for those reasons, not to have something that's going to break down all the time on us.
I think our complex here is a little bit different than a Walmart or a Home Depot where they have to plow. We have to plow more frequently because of ambulance, for example, and changing in shifts is a big issue. Mr. Brown, you had...
Yeah, well, what the number, excuse me, The numbers at the delegation, wasn't it 38,500 you were saying for the truck and 4,000 for the snowblower?
No, it was misconstrued. I asked for a total rough number. I said 38,000. That was 35,000 for the truck and up to 3,000 for the snowblower. I wasn't sure exactly what we need for the snowblower. I've since have gotten those numbers down to know exactly what the snowblower is, and I don't need. I need 37. If we're talking a total package right now, we're talking what, 37,300 is what we're talking now.
So I thought it was two different figures that were being driven. One for the truck for 38,500 and 4,000 for a snowblower.
No, I think that's because there was 10 people sitting around the table interpreting 10 different things. When the commissioner said 38,000, I think he meant, or at least that's what I told him, is he meant for the package. And I don't know, maybe that got misconstrued.
Because I just, excuse me, that's the way I heard it, that there was two numbers. And then, so I was just wondering, because at the last commissioners meeting, when I was talking about, because I made a few phone calls, and then you said that as a municipality, you can get it for $2,000. So why would you have been driving 4 at the delegation meeting?
Right, and I didn't ask for 4. I think Representative Babson made the motion to give us 4,000, trying to get us at least some money for the snow blower, probably not knowing exactly what the figure was. That's why he threw out 4,000, I'm assuming, and just trying to get us enough money.
Fault?
But I wouldn't have needed that 4,000. I only would have needed the 2,300.
No, I just, like I said, just the way it sounded, and maybe that's why the delegation, went off, and because they were thinking it was too much, 38,500 for the truck and then 4,000 for a snowblower.
Right.
Because I mean, it's pretty evident, a snowblower doesn't cost $4,000.
Right.
And what snowblower is that? The 32 Aaron's?
Yes.
Commercial?
Yes.
Okay. Any comments from the Commissioners Board regarding how to deal with purchasing a truck? I like the idea of purchasing it for $35,000. One-shot deal, save $5,000. I don't think there's any question we need a truck. We need a truck that will hold a sander. And that truck that Sander's on now is in pretty bad shape. So I guess the question is, do we authorize? Go ahead, Mr. Babson.
Excuse me, Dave. I guess I'm confused. Why did you say it was too late for a supplementary budget? I thought you could.
Supplemental budget, if we have a supplemental budget, we have to go out to all the towns, we have to notify them, and the tax rate, I believe, is already set, and it's set. You can't have a supplemental budget, I think, after the 1st of September.
Okay.
It's a September issue.
I was confused. I thought it was just brought before the delegation, and they made the decision for supplementary.
If we're going to
budget.
increase taxes, if we're going to move money around from one budget to another, then that can be done by the delegation.
But a supplementary budget has to go.
So supplemental budget is not the right terminology, I think. Terminology is that we have to notify all the selectmen, have a public hearing, and so on. It costs money, and the tax rate's already been set by the state, and that's why you can't have it after the 1st of September.
Isn't there, don't we have in a surplus of $35,000 that we could come to the delegation in 2 weeks and say, look, this is our problem?
A surplus?
Move it around from some other
Well, we got
items in the budget?
Okay, there are two things. One, we can move things around if the delegation approves it. Second, we could take it out of surplus money that we have that the delegation would have to approve. Either way, the delegation has got to approve it.
Well, why don't we begin working on that now? Because that's the only way to make sense if we're going to save $5,000.
Yeah. I think the question is going to come up, do we really need a plow truck? I think that's where the delegation will make the issue. I don't think there's any question that we need another plow truck and we need a sander.
How old is this truck now, Will?
The one that we're replacing is a 93 or 4. It's a 94, I believe.
You gotta
drive, 3/4.
You got to take a look at it.
Not old enough.
It's 8 years old, and
1994.
So it's 7 years old.
Close to,
No.
Close to
It's
6,
six.
Mr. Brown.
Oh, no,
in 3 years,
Yeah.
it'll be 20 years old.
That's 17.
Yeah.
17 years old.
17 years old. So, what, you're just now trying to get on an 8-year program?
Right, I started 2 years ago here, when I started here. I was asked by the commissioners to evaluate a vehicle plan, because in the past, this place has waited 20 to 30 years to replace vehicles. I was asked to come up with a plan to kind of have a rotating basis so we can have a decent fleet that's reliable and we're not losing money. You know, when we turn that in, we can actually get something for it instead of just sending it to scrap. And that's why I've come up with the 8-year plan with trying to keep our budgets
And
flat too.
you had two
Yeah, or cancel the.
other options that were presented, one by McConkey and one by McCarthy.
Yes.
And do you have figures from a Bobcat dealer and figures from a tractor dealer? Because I think both of those options are more expensive than what you're looking at here.
I don't have the
But
figures.
that might be handy to have in hand.
Yeah,
No,
Right.
it's all well and good for them to discuss hypotheticals, but unless you have the figures in hand, you can't really battle
Yeah.
them.
I guess I should have that, but I also, as a department head, I kind of feel it's a slap in the face, to be honest. I should be able to come to the commissioners and tell them the equipment that I need, and they tell me either yes, you can have it, or no, you can't, and not be told what type. I listen to other ideas, yes, but not be told exactly what I have to do the job.
that's like.
I thought that's what I was
micromanaging.
hired to do, was to tell them what it is that
Good
they
to
want
have
me to do.
thick skin.
It's only been here 2
and
years.
one last, your
Yeah.
notion of paying for it once as opposed to paying over time, you're actually only saving $1,200 worth of interest on an annual basis. But it is a better way to do it
Per
in
year.
that you
That's
shouldn't
what
be,
he said, per annual.
yeah, you shouldn't be premising your replacement on finances. You need to premise your replacement on usage.
And the need.
So if, I don't know how many miles he's putting on a year, how much they're wearing out, but even an 8-year rotation may be excessive for the kind of work it's doing. I don't know. Maybe a 10-year rotation works, but the rotation of the equipment should be premised on the use and the wearing out of the equipment,
Yeah,
and not on the finance package you put together.
okay.
So I have a
Yeah,
question.
yes.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if you order today, how long does it take again before it is in?
The salesman told me 6 to 8 weeks, probably close to 8 weeks is what the salesman told me,
Oh,
ma'am.
okay, so.
Why so long?
Because it's a brand new, he said he has to order it through the factory. I'm just relaying
Right,
what
but
I
I
was
mean,
told by him.
the 12 should already be, usually the 12s come out in September, so you would think they'd have one in the pipeline somewhere.
I would agree with you, sir, on a personal, I'm just telling you what the salesman told me.
Right.
He
Well,
says-
maybe just to have them double check or something, because
Right.
just seems to me that, I mean, the 12s are already out, so why they can't ship one from wherever if they had to?
All right.
Yeah.
I think the Board of Commissioners, with a motion, will authorize you to purchase or to order a truck from DePrecios for $35,000. And we will decide at a later time as to whether we pay it by payments or whether we pay it outright. We'll bring it up at the delegation meeting. Hopefully the subcommittee would support the $35,000 coming from someplace. We'll come up with the area we think the money should come from, and we'll go from there. Is that a motion to do that?
I go along with that motion, but I just have a question. Will the DePrecios accept that? I mean, do they want any money up front?
I believe you pay the money when you pick the truck up.
Yeah.
That would be my assumption. You would pay, you'd have a check of whether it's the whole $35,000 or it's the $9,975. We would have that when we pick the truck up. The question I would have for the commissioners is, though, I don't know if I need to tell him which way to go when he orders the truck.
No, you don't.
I don't need to do that? Okay, I just wasn't sure about
That's
that. I'm
not from a
sure.
commissioner, but probably correct.
Okay.
Okay.
If I run into that roadblock, would you want me to say I go in an hour from now, later on this day,
Yeah.
today, would you want me to notify
Bring it
somebody?
back.
Bring it back, let you guys know
Yep.
if they need to know that or not?